Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to Team APS. I'm Paul, and in today's video I wanted to talk about link monsters. Everyone's favorite thing to talk about, right? So, link monsters, I feel, are actually in a pretty good spot in Yu-Gi-Oh! For the most part, and I wanted to highlight why and some examples of the monsters that I think are very well designed, very well balanced, and still really useful and impactful in the game right now. So before we get started, a quick reminder, I'm giving away the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2019 playmat. If you guys are interested in winning it, all you have to do is leave a comment on this video when you're done. Just tell me what you think, what your favorite link monsters are, what you think of my discussions, and leave a comment on all the different videos from this week. I'm starting a Monday to Friday upload schedule, so if you leave a comment on every video this week, a meaningful one, not just enter me, then I will pick a random winner at the end, and you guys will get this very valuable, sealed Yu-Gi-Oh! Playmat from Worlds. Alright, also, shout out to the YouTube channel members. You guys know who you are. If you hit the join button beneath the video, then for a small monthly amount, you will support us, investing in our ability to make better Yu-Gi-Oh! Content for you guys, get better gear, go to more events. It's much appreciated. Alright, so, link monsters. Early on, people hated them. Later on, people really hated them. And now I think I'm finally at a point, at least for myself, where I'm okay with link monsters. It's taken a new monster getting banned every one of the last 5 ban lists now. But I do think link monsters are in a good place. And the reason why is because I feel like Konami has finally done a good job of releasing the ones that are, they help archetypes but aren't so broken in like other strategies. It's probably easier if I explain this with an example. So let's take something like, say, Dragoonity Knight Romulus. This is a new card that was just recently released in Rising Rampage. It's a Dragoonity support card, so when you summon it, you're of course able to search for Dragoonity cards, or Dragon Ravine, and that's really useful. It helps the Dragoonity archetype out a lot. It's very easy to make because its materials are just, basically 2 Dragoonity monsters. They'll always fit the bill, and other things can make it too. And it's got good arrows, and then when a monster is summoned to a zone that it points to from the extra deck, you're actually able to summon one of your dragons from your hand, and that can't be used as link material. So there's a few reasons why I think this is so good. First of all, helps the archetype it's designed to help. This is kind of the trend with lots of the link monsters from the Link Brains packs in the OCG. They help their archetype but can be used by other things. So yes, we've seen a lot of Guard Dragon strategies make pretty good use of Romulus, but assuming Guard Dragon LP maybe ever gets banned, please. This, I think, is a otherwise pretty tame card. Helps its archetype, has good arrows, and then, like, the monster that it summons can't be used as link material, and I think that's really crucial, is, basically making monsters that either the link monster can't be used as material, or the thing that you summon can't be used as material. I've mentioned this somewhat in the past in some videos of ours, just different couch discussions and stuff, that I think that a key in balancing link monsters is kind of cutting out or slowing down some of the link laddering. Link laddering being, when you summon low link monsters, use some effect, get a free monster, link it up in something else, like for example, Isolde into Summon Sorceress into Fireball Dragon, right? That type of thing. So each monster just gets a new thing from the deck. That's probably why Crystron Needle Fiber isn't coming to the TCG anytime soon, but we'll see. Yeah, so Dragoonity Romulus gets a plus from me. I think that if something like Guard Dragon LP ever does get banned, Romulus will still have a place in the game. It won't be useless, but it'll just be really balanced. And even Phantom Knight's Rusty Bardiche, which did end up getting banned for other reasons, at least did have that phrasing of it cannot be used as link material, and I think that we should definitely see more of that. Another card I wanted to point out is Traptrix Era. So Traptrix are a little archetype of monsters. They're like mostly insects and plants. I think there's a few others, but it's mostly those two. And so they focus on the trap holes. One of their best cards is Traptrix Myrmelio. They also have things like Dionea, for instance. And so the Traptrix archetype kind of struggles a bit. It can make like rank 4 XZs, and that was kind of what it was used for back in the 2014 days and stuff like that. But having a link monster is valuable to them because Traptrix Era does so much for you. And it's well designed. You can make it with any one Traptrix monster. Not any monster, so you can't just dump a token out in the field and make a Traptrix Era and get like free trap holes and crazy effects. You do have to use it in the Traptrix deck, and it rewards you for using other Traptrix monsters' effects. So it advances the strategy in a really good way. It's got 2 really strong effects. It's easy to make, but it's not exploitable. And as I go on in this video, you'll probably notice that that's kind of the trend that I really like to see in these link monsters, is helping our own archetypes but not being exploitable. Another really good one, Magical Musketeer Max. So Magical Musketeer Max, basically, like with Sarah, it just takes one Magical Musket monster, and then you can just make it, and then you get to add Magical Musket, either spell and traps or monsters, out to your hand or onto the field based on the amount of things your opponent has. So you can search spell and traps equal to the number of monsters your opponent controls, or you can summon monsters equal to the number of spell or traps your opponent controls. This corrects a very, very, very big problem that Magical Musketeers have always had in terms of consistency and getting their strategy moving. Now all you have to do is, of course, go second, because if you go first he's not really very useful, but all you have to do is go second and you just kind of, summon it, and then you get rewarded. Now, yes, it can get negated and stuff, so that's always going to be something that you have to worry about, but, that's any Yu-Gi-Oh deck. The fact of the matter is, though, is it really quickly gets the ball moving on the Magical Musketeer strategy, and that's super important. You're not going to be doing a bunch of link climbing, it doesn't, do much more than that, but I think for the deck it's meant to help, it is fantastic. And there's plenty of other examples where that came from. We're not done. We have things like Golvig of the Nordic Ascendant. This is actually one that came out in Legendary Hero decks way, way back, late last year, I want to say. But yeah, so Golvig does a really good job of letting you summon your Nordic Synchro monsters. They're huge, they have great effect, but they're just so difficult to make these days, especially with the way that the extra monster zone mechanics kind of work. So by summoning Golvig at the cost of literally just one monster, it's a link 1, you're able to banish the 3 cards. Of course, that's a big cost, but then you get to get 3 monsters out and immediately make your synchro. I think that this is good. I think that this helps the strategy out, and it also prevents the monster from being targeted, I believe. So, it's always a nice perk, a little bit of protection, never hurt anybody. And it's not exploitable by other decks. It helps the deck it's meant to help, doesn't get abused otherwise. Another really good and similar one, TG Trident Launchers. So this one does take a bit of resources to make. I think it's link 3, but it has 3 very good arrows. It takes 2 effect monsters, and then one of the last monsters, of course, has to be like a TG tuner. So non-TG decks aren't going to be abusing this thing, but it's got really good arrows, and it lets you summon a lot of free monsters, which is really good. You get to summon one from your hand, deck, and grave, and anytime it's pointing to your Nordic Synchros, they are basically protected by its effect. It's got good attack strength. I think it's just a good example of what TGs needed. It lets them play without needing to use something like Summon Sorceress, and they can do the things they want to do, and it even protects their boss monsters. I actually was building a TG deck a couple months back, and I really love this card. It's actually kind of one of the big things that inspired me to make this video, it and Traptrix Era, because I just feel like they really did a great job with their design. And there's plenty of others. I won't go into, I guess, as much detail, but for example, Aroma Jasmine, really strong card for the Aroma deck, can be useful in plant decks. Harpy Conductor does a great job of helping the Harpies out. You can destroy your spells and traps like Hysteric Sign to, of course, get the search from that, and also it can bounce your opponent's monsters. It works really well with Harpy Dancer. You've got things like Heavy Metal Foes Electromite, which is limited because it is a little bit overbearing. I think the main mistake that was probably made with that card was just not having a hard once return on all of its effects. I think if there was a hard once return on all of its effects, it probably would have needed to get limited, but otherwise it does a really great job of helping out Metal Foes and Pendulum strategies in general. Isolde, Two Tails of the Noble Knights, is another really good example of a card that I think, yes, it had a period of time where it was kind of seen as a little bit broken, right? Like summoning free warriors and stuff from the deck. But it's kind of, been curbed now. People don't really complain about it as much, especially because Summon Sorceress is banned now, and it's very bricky to run that many equipped spells. But if you're running a Noble Knight deck, it does its job extremely well with setting up plays. Getting those cards to the graveyard is important. You can recycle them with Brothers, you can get them back with your King Xyz, and of course, getting a Noble Knight search to your hand never hurts. And it has a Noble Knight name, so it works with some of their other cards as well. I think that when Link monsters are designed in this way, they are kind of at their peak for me. I think this is what Links need to be. I think when people think of, oh, I wish my archetype could get a Link monster, this is what they think of. There's still a few more Link monsters on the horizon. There's the Scrap Link monster, there's a Raid Raptor Link monster that I believe we're supposed to be getting. There's of course Needle Fiber, but I don't know if that really would fit the bill in terms of balanced Link monsters that I'm talking about. But we still have a few more, and I really like these designs. The main thing with links for me is that its link laddering has always been a really controversial thing, because link monsters materials are oftentimes rather generic. You think of stuff like the Nightmares, where it's just sort of like, you know, two monsters with different names, bam, I have an Orcus combo, right? Or you know, things like Firewall Dragon with this lack of a hard once per turn and very generic requirements. Gunblower Dragon taking things out of your hand while also having very generic requirements. That stuff's a problem. I think we've even reached a point where the high link monsters, now that Firewall and Gunblower are gone, are actually very balanced and do a good job of competing with each other for a spot in your extra deck. So Borrelsword is obviously one of the very strong ones that's mostly seen as a staple, but you also have access to Borreload, which can be good for outing boss monsters. You've got access to things like Mechanite Crusadia Avermax, one of my favorites, such good art, who, you know, can actually do a similar job to Borrelsword Dragon and actually kind of do more because of the way that it's protected and it even floats. And then there's the new Apollosa, which is sort of like a light and darkness dragon. It can negate monster effects, but it's got its downsides, because even though it can, it gets weaker as you do so, and it also doesn't destroy the monsters. Plus, it doesn't ladder into anything, it doesn't advance combos or take cards out of your opponent's hand, so you have to be careful with how you use it. I think that those four monsters right now are really good, well-designed Link 4s. I think if Link 4 monsters were this way from the start, and just kind of stayed like that, Links would have been okay. I think that we're also in a pretty good spot with Link 3s. There are a lot of decks that have like boss monster style Link 3s, but other than that, you know, there's not as much Link climbing now that Summon Sorceress is gone. I think Links have really reached a strong spot, and I just wanted to spotlight some of the Link monsters that I feel have just done a really good job at being balanced, helping their decks out. You know, and of course, like, shout outs to some of the other really useful ones like Salamander, Almirage. It's really useful in a lot of combos for like Altergeist, combos for Fire Fist. It's still not broken. Kind of like Link Rebo, it more or less does the same thing, and like Link Spider. I feel like their uses are now more pronounced because they're not just used as part of Link ladders to make like a firewall loop. They're actually doing like good, useful jobs, but not being broken. So, yeah, that's basically the video. I want to know what you guys think. Do you feel like Links have reached a point where they're balanced and, you know, they're well designed? I think we've gotten some really good ones, and we've gotten some ones that people have been looking forward to. There's still a few more on the horizon that we need, but I'm curious, like, how do you guys feel about Links? Do you feel like they have helped your deck if your deck is one that's gotten Link monsters? There are a few exceptions. I'm still not a huge fan of Guard Dragon LP, still not the biggest fan of Saryuya, but I can tolerate them for now. We'll see where that goes. Let me know what you think. That's gonna be it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.